So one thing I've started to notice is that for the past few years, I would become a fan of this really cool video game series, only to find out that series hasn't had a new game in several years. I first got into Mega Man in 2012, and both Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry in 2016. But around the time I first became a fan of those games, all of those series haven't had a new game in several years. And while Ninja Gaiden is still yet to make a big comeback, it was announced on December 4th, 2017 that Mega Man would finally make a big comeback with Mega Man 11 in 2018. And that was only the beginning of my excitement. After Mega Man 11 was first announced, I was like, awesome! Mega Man is finally back! But can we please get a new Mega Man X, Mega Man Zero, Devil May Cry, Ninja Gaiden, or Castlevania game now? And then, during last year's E3, my friend Punk Gamer live-streamed our reactions along with some other friends' reactions to each press conference during E3. During Microsoft's press conference, a trailer was revealed. I wasn't too sure what to think about it at first, until I saw the Capcom logo. I was already pretty suspicious of what game this was, and then I was like, wait, who's that guy with the short white hair? Wait, what? 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 No, they did not. Are they seriously making a sequel to DMC? Like, why? I wasn't too happy at first, but then I looked at the game's combat. Wait, those moves, that gun, that sword. Oh my god, oh my god, it's Nero! Yes, Nero is back! I went from being disappointed to being super excited really fast. And then, after the very end of the trailer, I completely lost it.
He's back! He's back!
He's back!
Dante's back!
I am out of sync. You guys are enemies.
Seth is freaking the fuck out!
I'm absolutely crazy about it.
Seth, bring yourself down. It's okay.
He's just as excited about it as anyone else.
Oh my god.
Devil May Cry 5 is finally happening, Dante is finally back, and Hideaki Itsuno is returning to direct it as well?
DMC is back!
I've shed so many tears of joy after seeing that announcement. For the entirety of last year, I was constantly anticipating what would be revealed next for the game because I was just that excited. I first got to play the game when the first demo was released in December of last year, and I was already loving with what I've played of it so far. And then, finally, the game released about 3 months ago. So what did I think of this game? Well, you probably already know the answer. But let's go into more detail. That being said, here's my review of the latest game in the series, Devil May Cry 5. Let's rock. A few years after the events of Devil May Cry 4, Nero has started a mobile branch of Dante's demon hunting business, Devil May Cry, is now living with Kyrie, and is working alongside an engineer named Nico. No, not that Nico. However, one day, Nero is visited by a mysterious hooded figure and is attacked by him. The mysterious hooded figure rips the Devilbringer off of Nero and thus taking Yamato as well. Later, Dante is visited by his friend Morrison, who brings him yet another job since Dante is still broke as usual. Dante is then hired by a mysterious man named Kylo Ren, V, who asks Dante to destroy a powerful demon named Urizen, who was apparently the same demon that attacked Nero. Dante, Lady, Trish, Nero, and V then make their way to a giant demonic tree in Redgrave City where Urizen awaits, only for all of them to be defeated just after a few minutes of fighting him. Dante ends up missing in action, Lady and Trish are captured by Urizen, and Nero and V barely manage to escape. 1 month later, Nero returns to Redgrave City, now equipped with a mechanical arm known as the Devilbreaker. And so the game begins. Nero begins to slay every demon in his path, while V does the same while also searching for answers to defeat Urizen. It's also worth mentioning that some of the things I've explained in the story are actually explained later via flashback sequences. While story-wise, Nero losing the Devilbringer canonically happens first, you don't actually see that happen until after you've cleared Mission 1, which takes place 2 months after that happened. The game actually begins with Dante fighting against Urizen, while Nero makes his way to them, and you don't actually see Dante meeting V for the first time until you reach Mission 9. So yeah, thought it was worth mentioning. That's all I will say about the story for this review, but I will say that it's easily the most interesting story in the series so far. While I did find the plot twist kinda predictable, I was still very interested to see what would happen next after clearing a mission. I've also kept guessing what would happen next every time V was on screen, and Nero and Dante are still just as entertaining as they always were. Johnny Young Bosch once again returns as the motion capture and voice of Nero, and I'm glad to see that he still hasn't lost his touch even after 10 years.
Alright, time to kick some ass.
And of course, Reuben Langdon also returns as the motion capture and voice of Dante, and this is easily his best performance for the character by far. I was super happy to finally hear him voicing Dante again, and he still sounds absolutely amazing as always.
Cash up front. This I like. The water needs turning on and those toilets need flushing.
Really, the acting in general is just really fantastic, and I'm glad to see that we still have dialogue that is both cheesy and badass at the same time.
Who brought the marshmallows? 'Cause I'm bringing the fire.
Okay, let's talk about the gameplay. Once again, it's a hack-and-slash action game where you progress through missions by stylishly destroying demons, and clearing the mission either by defeating a specific enemy or boss at the end, or by reaching a specific point in the mission. Though one new feature I greatly appreciate is the ability to pan the camera in the direction you should be heading if you're ever lost. The style gauge returns yet again, but this time there's an announcer for whenever you reach a stylish rank in battle. The stylish ranks this time being
Dismal, crazy, badass, apocalyptic, savage, sick skills, smoking sexy style!
Secret missions also return, and while most of them are well designed, there are those one or two missions that can be a bit annoying if you don't know the right strategy. In addition to blue orb fragments, there are also purple orb fragments, and collecting 4 of them create a purple orb to increase the size of your devil trigger gauge. Speaking of orbs, the shop once again returns, but besides the usual divinity statues, you can also find telephones to call Nico and access the shop that way. Unlike Devil May Cry 4, there aren't any Proud Souls for purchasing new moves at the shop. It's back to using red orbs to purchase new moves like in the original trilogy. There are also no healing items to purchase at the shop. The only items you can buy at the shop are blue orbs, purple orbs, and gold orbs. Whenever your character dies, you can revive him by either using a gold orb like in the previous games, or by using a specific number of red orbs, with the number getting higher the more your character dies during a mission. Now, let's finally talk about the playable characters. Nero plays very identically to how he did in Devil May Cry 4, but now he has a few changes that make him better than he already was in the previous game. For starters, his gun, Blue Rose, doesn't have the rapid fire anymore, and instead shoots bullets more like an actual revolver this time, and he can also load up to 3 rounds and shoot up to 3 charge shots in a row. Secondly, his sword, Red Queen, now has some brand new moves introduced in this game. Red Queen can also once again be revved for more powerful slashes, either by timing the rev button just after slashing or by manually revving it. Although this time, Nero can actually run and even sprint while manually revving, and I greatly admire this change. And now, let's talk about the biggest change made to Nero in Devil May Cry 5. Because Nero lost the Devil Bringer, Nico creates these different mechanical arms that Nero can equip known as Devil Breakers. These arms mainly serve as extra attacks and abilities for Nero to perform in battle, with each one having a different attack or ability. Some examples being an arm that delivers an electric shock to attack enemies, or an arm that replicates the Devil Bringer and thus behaving exactly how it did in Devil May Cry 4. However, these arms are limited and fragile. If Nero takes damage while using one of them, whatever Devil Breaker he has equipped will be destroyed. Each Devil Breaker can also be destroyed by charging it up for a super powerful ability, or by manually destroying it to escape grabs and or blast enemies away with the explosion. You can get more Devil Breakers either by finding them lying around in the area you're in, or by purchasing new ones at the shop. As you progress through the game, Nico will eventually create new Devil Breakers for you to equip. You're limited to carrying only 3 at a time when you first start playing, but you can also upgrade so you can carry up to 8. Moving on, let's talk about the new character introduced in this game, V. V plays very differently from every other playable character in the series, and is arguably the most difficult character to play as.
So it is written.
Instead of attacking enemies directly, he uses 3 demon familiars to attack enemies, all of these which originate from the original Devil May Cry. Griffin serves as V's ranged attacks, while Shadow serves as V's melee attacks. They are also used to dodge attacks, but doing so will interrupt whatever action they're currently doing. V also has a Devil Trigger gauge, and when it has at least 3 bars full, he can use it to summon Nightmare to attack enemies. V can also use his Devil Trigger gauge to have Griffin and Shadow automatically attack enemies while also increasing their power. And besides attacking enemies and taunting, V can also restore his Devil Trigger gauge by reading poetry. However, V's familiars can't actually destroy enemies by themselves. Once an enemy takes enough damage, V must finish off his opponent directly using his cane. Furthermore, Griffin and Shadow can actually be defeated if they take too much damage, causing them to go into a stalemate, and thus losing the ability to attack or dodge with them. Once that happens, you need to wait for them to be revived before you can use them to attack or dodge again. Though you can speed up the recovery by either having V close by to where they were put into a stalemate, or by summoning Nightmare to instantly revive them. And finally, there's of course my personal favorite son of Sparta himself, Dante. Dante plays almost exactly how he does in Devil May Cry 4. He still has his 4 styles and can switch between all 4 by touching the corresponding button on the D-pad, and has multiple different weapons he can wield. Dante immediately has his famous Sword Rebellion, his dual pistols Ebony and Ivory, his shotgun Coyote A, and a brand new set of gauntlets, greaves, and shoulder pads known as Balrog when you first start playing as him. But just like in the previous games, Dante will eventually gain new weapons the further he progresses through the game. That being said, oh my god, I absolutely love this game so much. It's so much better than Devil May Cry 4 in just about every way possible. In fact, let's go over all the improvements I feel the game has made, as well as talk about some things I love about it in general. For starters, the combat is a lot smoother and feels a lot better as a result. Taunting is also greatly improved as well. The characters now have a unique voice clip for every single taunt this time, and on top of that, both Nero and Dante have some brand new taunt animations to go with them. Not only that, but you can also now taunt in midair, and that's actually very cool. V's taunts are also pretty fun as well, with my personal favorite being this one. There's also another improvement with the game that also reminded me of a problem I forgot to mention in my Devil May Cry 4 review. In Devil May Cry 4, most of the guns were not very useful when it came to raising the style gauge, but in Devil May Cry 5, that issue is fixed. I can now once again use Ebony and Ivory to raise the style gauge, and it feels really good to do so, especially when using Gunslinger style. Another thing that surprised me is that Devil May Cry 5 is actually the longest game in the entire series. The game is still 20 missions long, like in the previous games, not counting the prologue, but most of the missions tend to last from 20 to 30 minutes. Not all of them are that long, but it definitely took me twice as long to finish this game in comparison to me finishing one of the previous 4 games. Nero and Dante also feel so much better to control than ever before. I really love the new moves that Nero has in this game, and the new Devil Breakers add a lot more variety to his combat. That being said, here's a funny story. About 1 or 2 months after Devil May Cry 5 was revealed, I was talking with some friends about how awesome it would be if one of the Devil Breakers was Mega Man's Mega Buster, and what do you know, they revealed it a few months later after talking about it. Dante is also the most powerful he's ever been in this game, and he is and always will be my personal favorite. And while the new weapons he can get are still a lot of fun to use, especially his new motorcycle weapon known as Cavalier, my personal favorites are still his classic sword and dual pistols. I know you may think I'm boring for saying that, but hey, that's just how I personally feel. V is also pretty fun to use as well, though he definitely takes a lot of getting used to at first. I had some mixed feelings on his gameplay when I first played as him, but I eventually got better at using him the more I've played, and now I agree that he's definitely pretty fun to play as. Remember the most annoying enemy in the original Devil May Cry? Well, now you can use it to attack enemies while playing as V, and it's definitely very satisfying to use. I still greatly prefer playing as Dante and Nero, but V is still a welcome change of pace both gameplay and story-wise. The only problem I have with V is that getting Shadow close enough to attack enemies can be kind of annoying at times, especially when you're also trying to dodge enemies and or play on the harder difficulties. But despite that one issue, I still had a lot of fun playing as V. The boss fights for the most part are also a lot of fun to fight. The only boss I found annoying was V's first boss because of the issue I mentioned earlier, but every other boss is super fun to fight. My favorite boss is definitely the final boss, but I won't ruin your experience. All I will say is that it definitely more than lives up to the hype that it's been building up to. Another cool new feature the game has that should definitely be a series mainstay is the Void. It's basically the training mode of the game that lets you practice your moves, attacks, combos, and fighting specific enemies. 2 months ago, the Bloody Palace was also added to the game as a free update, but I'm still yet to finish it at the time of this video. I don't think it's quite as difficult as Devil May Cry 4's Bloody Palace, but you'll definitely need to have some extremely high skill in order to finish it. Graphically speaking, it looks absolutely incredible running off the RE engine. The photorealistic environments and characters look fantastic, and the frame rate runs at a smooth 60 frames per second on all systems. That being said, I am somewhat mixed on the environments. Half the missions take place in Redgrave City, while the other half of the missions take place in the Demonic Tree. Redgrave City looks fantastic and never outstays its welcome. but the demonic tree can get visually repetitive, specifically towards the end of the game. Despite that though, I feel that the combat way more than makes up for it. And while Devil May Cry 4 definitely had more variety in the environments, Devil May Cry 5's environment still technically looked miles better, so yeah, musically speaking, it's fantastic, at least for the most part. The game's main theme, Devil Trigger, which also serves as Nero's default battle theme, was the song that played during the game's reveal trailer in 2018, and I've had it stuck in my head ever since I first heard it during that trailer. It's such a fantastic theme and is full of so much hype. The boss themes are also very fantastic, with my favorite being Voltaic Black Knight. It sounds like it belongs in Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. You hear it too, right? The only song I was heavily mixed on was Subhuman, which serves as Dante's default battle theme. The instrumental sounds pretty good, but the vocals, not so much. Though luckily, Devil May Cry 5 lets you change the battle music for whatever character you're playing as, so I can just have Devil Trigger set as Dante's battle theme. There's also some music from the previous 4 games you can get as DLC and use those songs as your character's battle theme as well, so yeah. With all that being said, Devil May Cry 5 is now officially my favorite hack-and-slash action game of all time, and is now one of my favorite video games of all time. And aside from that one issue I've mentioned about V's combat, every other issue I have with the game aren't necessarily problems, but rather nitpicks and missed opportunities. For starters, almost every mission has a predetermined character you play as for that mission, with the exception of 2 missions that let you choose what character you play as. I can understand that being the case from when you first play through the game, but I really wish I could replay any previously completed mission as any character I'd like. The closest thing we have to that is being able to fight specific bosses with the character of your choosing in the Bloody Palace, but I still wish I could run around Red Grape City as Dante. One of the trailers actually shows Dante being playable in Mission 1, which was a mission you played as Nero in the final game, but even after completing that mission, you can still only play it as Nero. I really wish I could replay all of Nero and V's missions as Dante. Another missed opportunity is including alternate costumes and extra playable characters, as either unlockables or DLC. None of the characters have alternate costumes, and only have one alternate color alongside the super costumes that give the characters unlimited Devil Trigger. I really wish Nero's Devil May Cry 4 outfit and Dante's Devil May Cry 1 or 2 outfit were included, and despite being in the game, you never actually get to play as Lady or Trish, even after finishing the game, which is a bit disappointing. Maybe all of this could be included in a special edition in the future? Who knows, we'll just have to wait and see if it ever happens. But despite all of my personal wantings and nitpicks, I cannot deny that this is easily the greatest hack-and-slash action game I've ever played. Better than Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, better than Ninja Gaiden, and heck, even better than Bayonetta. Devil May Cry 5 now stands as one of my favorite video games of all time. I don't think there exists a perfect video game, but this game certainly ranks very high up there. If you somehow still haven't played this game yet, I highly recommend you do so ASAP. I promise you'll have a really good time with it. That being said, I give this game a 10 out of 10.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching. I have worked really hard on this review and I've been a fan of Devil May Cry since 2016. With me here is Dante, the son of Sparta himself, Reuben Langdon. How are you?
Good. How's it going? Hey guys.
I hope you enjoyed this crazy party because, oh man, Devil May Cry, Dante, everything I love about it. I really love this series so much. I guess you could say I'm absolutely crazy about it. Am I right?
I think he's absolutely crazy about it. Oh my god, crazy!
Hell yeah.